Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, Naomi Osaka. All four are entered in Cincinnati. All four bring a different unfinished story with Alex Eala. And as of August 5, the draw is still empty. No opponent has been confirmed. No section has been revealed. No blockbuster rematch is guaranteed. That is exactly what makes this moment so dangerous. Eala could land near Swiatek, the player she has already beaten twice. She could land near Gauff, the opponent who defeated her 6-love, 6-2, then watched Eala take control of the rematch before an injury ended it. She could meet Pegula again, after two exhausting 3-set battles became defining moments in the rise of Eala. Or she could face Osaka only days after beating the 4-time Grand Slam champion in Washington. 4 names, 4 histories, 4 completely different problems. But before we ask which player is most dangerous, we need to define danger. Danger does not mean the greatest career. It does not mean the loudest name. It does not even mean the opponent with the highest ranking. In this video, danger means the matchup with the least reliable information, the widest range of possible outcomes, and the hardest plan to build before the first ball is struck. That definition changes everything. This question also matters because Eala is entering Cincinnati from a new position. She is no longer only the young outsider trying to create one unforgettable upset. She arrives as the world number 20, a WTA champion, and a player with an official victory against every woman in this comparison, although the second Gauff match ended early because of injury. A rematch is different from a first surprise. The opponent arrives with evidence. The coaching team can identify patterns. The crowd expects resistance. Eala also carries more weight. She is no longer proving that she can reach this level for one afternoon. She is proving that the level can survive after the opponent has adjusted. The real question is whether those victories created repeatable answers. Swiatek brings the pressure of repetition. Eala has beaten her twice, so the challenge is proving that the same pressure can work after 3 full matches have been studied. Pegula brings the pressure of clarity. She gives away very little, reads the court early, and forces Eala to create openings without losing patience. Osaka brings the pressure of time. Her serve and first strike can turn one loose game into an entire set before Eala has settled into the match. Gauff brings the pressure of uncertainty. One meeting was a complete defeat. The next looked like a complete reversal, but it ended before the answer became final. That is why this is not simply a list of famous opponents. It is an investigation into 4 different versions of Alex Eala. The obvious answer may be Swiatek. She has the titles, the experience, and the memory of 2 painful losses. Maybe it is Pegula, because every match between them has demanded a deciding set. Maybe it is Osaka, because hard court power can erase time faster than any tactical plan can respond. But the evidence points toward a more complicated answer. The most dangerous possible opponent may be Coco Gauff. Not because Eala cannot beat her, not because Gauff has the biggest name, because this matchup has produced 2 opposite stories and no complete ending. Before we decide whether that answer survives the full evidence, we need to understand what each of these 4 women has already taught us about the game of Alex Eala. Start with Iga Swiatek. Eala and Swiatek have met 3 times, and the story has changed every time. Miami in 2025 came first. Eala walked onto court as the young outsider and left with a 6-2, 7-5 victory over one of the most dominant players of her generation. It was the kind of result that made people stop and ask the same question. Who is this player? Then came Madrid. Swiatek adjusted. The match went 3 sets, and this time she found the answer. That could have closed the story. It did not. At Wimbledon in 2026, they met again on center court. Swiatek was the defending champion. Eala won 7-6, 6-2. 2 victories over Swiatek. 2 different surfaces. 2 very different stages. That is no longer a random upset. It is a matchup with history. The three meetings also give both players something valuable. Information. Eala knows that her style can make Swiatek uncomfortable. The matches suggest that early contact, aggressive returning, and pressure on the first two shots can prevent Swiatek from controlling the exchange. Swiatek knows the same thing. She has now felt that pressure 3 times. She has seen the return position. She has experienced the speed of the early ball. She knows that Eala will not enter the court defeated by reputation. At Miami, Eala converted 8 of 10 break points. That was not one lucky tiebreak. It was repeated pressure across the entire match. At Wimbledon, Swiatek held 2 set points in the opening set. Eala survived both, won the tiebreak, then controlled the second set 6-2. Those results give Eala confidence. They also give Swiatek a complete file. Cincinnati changes the environment again. This is hard court tennis. Swiatek is also returning as the defending Cincinnati champion. She understands the courts, the atmosphere, and the demands of winning this event. A fourth meeting would not begin with surprise. It would begin with recognition. Eala would know that the plan has worked before. Swiatek would know exactly what must be removed. That makes the matchup dangerous, but it also makes it readable. Both players know the shape of the battle. Now look at Coco Gauff. This matchup is harder to understand because the two meetings point in opposite directions. At Dubai in 2026, Gauff overwhelmed Eala. The score was 6-love, 6-2. Gauff won the first 10 games. The match lasted only 67 minutes. There was no mystery that day. Gauff defended everything. She extended the rallies. She made the court feel smaller and the targets feel tighter. Eala began searching for faster endings, and the errors arrived. That is one of the most dangerous qualities in the game of Gauff. She can create pressure without attacking every ball. She keeps the point alive until the player across the net begins attacking smaller spaces and taking larger risks. The match can be lost through impatience before it is lost through power. Then they met again less than 3 weeks later at Indian Wells. The picture changed. Eala won the first set 6-2. She moved ahead 2-love in the second. The match suggested that she was taking the ball earlier, controlling the center more effectively, and refusing to rush the finish. This time, Gauff was the player falling behind. Then the match ended. Gauff retired with a left arm injury. The victory counts. The lead was real. The adjustment was visible. But the answer was not complete. Would Eala have maintained control through a full second set? Would Gauff have changed the height and length of the rallies? Would the match have become more physical? Would the pressure from Dubai have returned once fatigue entered the contest? Nobody knows. That is the central danger. A clear defeat gives a player something to study. A clear victory gives a player something to trust. Two opposite matches create uncertainty. Which version is real? The Gauff who removed Eala from the court in 67 minutes? Or the Eala who controlled the rematch before injury ended it? That question has not been solved. Now consider Jessica Pegula. Their first meeting came in the Miami semifinal in 2025. For Eala, it was the biggest match of her career at that time. She pushed Pegula through 3 sets. She fought for more than 2 hours. She won the second set and came within 1 set of her first WTA final. Then Pegula closed the door. The score was 7-6, 5-7, 6-3. That loss mattered because it showed how close Eala had come. It also showed the distance still left to travel. Then came Washington in 2026. Pegula was the world number 3. She was the top seed. She won the first set. The final was interrupted by weather and stretched across 2 days. Eala came back. She won 4-6, 6-4, 6-love. Miami ended the dream. Washington completed the breakthrough. 2 matches, 2 deciding sets, 1 victory each. The final set in Washington looked like a complete answer. Eala lost only 8 points. But a result that clear can create a new danger. Pegula now owns the strongest possible warning. She knows what happened when Eala found the rhythm of the match. She knows where control disappeared. She knows which exchanges gave Eala confidence and which patterns stopped working. A third meeting would not begin with Pegula trying to discover the danger. It would begin with Pegula trying to remove it. Her style makes that task especially difficult for Eala. Pegula does not need chaos. She reads direction early, keeps the ball deep, and rarely gives away enough free points for an opponent to relax. The scoreboard can move without drama. One service game slips away, then another. Suddenly the player across the net is chasing the match against someone who does not reopen the door for free. That is why Pegula attacks clarity. Eala must remain patient enough to construct the point, but aggressive enough to prevent Pegula from settling into control. One rushed game can be expensive, one passive game can be just as costly. Then there is Naomi Osaka, 4 Grand Slam titles, a former world #1, one of the most dangerous hard-court players of her era. Eala met Osaka for the first time in the Washington semifinal. The match lasted 76 minutes. Eala won 6-4, 6-2. The match suggested a clear intention. Take the ball early. Prevent Osaka from settling. Keep the scoreboard moving before the serve, and first strike can take control. It worked. But a first meeting contains surprise. A second meeting contains preparation. Osaka would have the full recording. She would know where Eala stood on return. She would know which serves came under pressure. She would know which exchanges allowed Eala to gain confidence. That matters because Osaka can change the match faster than anyone else in this group. There may be no long tactical battle, no gradual search for rhythm, just quick holds, short points, and one service game that decides the set. A better serving night could change everything. 3 clean service games can make the player across the net feel that time is already disappearing. That is why Osaka attacks time. Eala has already seen the speed and absorbed the power. She has already proved that she can win. But the margin may still be smaller than the score in Washington suggests. So, what have these 4 stories shown us? Swiatek creates the pressure of repetition. Gauff creates the pressure of patience and uncertainty. Pegula creates the pressure of clean decision-making. Osaka creates the pressure of time. There is no single version of Eala that solves all 4. She would need to adjust again and again. That is where Cincinnati becomes more complicated than any simple ranking. The hardest opponent may not be decided only by the name across the net. Timing matters, the round matters, the previous match matters. A fresh Eala against Swiatek is not the same player as an exhausted Eala against Swiatek after 3 physical rounds. A night match against Osaka may feel completely different from an afternoon match in slower conditions. A meeting with Gauff after a short previous match may be manageable. The same meeting after 3 hours of long rallies could become a physical trap. Pegula, after several difficult rounds, may become even more dangerous because she offers so few easy points. This is the part the headline cannot show. The most dangerous opponent in Cincinnati may be the player Eala must survive before one of these famous names appears. Fans search the draw for the superstar. Coaches study the road leading toward that superstar. They study the first opponent, the recovery window, the court assignment, the temperature, the length of the rallies, the amount of energy already spent. Because timing can change the meaning of the matchup. Imagine Eala meets Swiatek early. Her legs are fresh. Her mind is clear. She can stand close to the baseline, attack the return, and play with the aggression that helped her win in Miami and Wimbledon. Now imagine the same meeting in the quarterfinal. Eala has already played 3 difficult matches. One ended late at night, another lasted nearly 3 hours. Her shoulder has absorbed hundreds of serves. Her legs have been forced to stop, sprint, and change direction again and again. Swiatek has also played several rounds, but the repeated competition may help her settle into the conditions. The names remain the same. The danger changes. Now think about Gauff. Her defense becomes more dangerous when the opponent is tired. She can make 1 point feel like 3. She can force Eala to create a winner, defend the next ball, then create another winner. With heavy legs, patience becomes harder. The temptation to shorten the rally grows. The targets become smaller. The errors begin to arrive. Gauff may not need to overpower Eala. She may only need to keep the ball alive long enough for fatigue to make the decision. Pegula creates a quieter version of the same pressure. The ball comes back clean. The depth remains consistent. There may be no obvious moment when the match changes. That can be suffocating after a difficult road. There is no loose stretch to provide relief. No wild service game to reopen the door. Then there is Osaka. A fast night match can make the serve even more important. The points may become shorter, but the time to adjust becomes smaller. One missed return disappears immediately. One poor service game can decide the set. Eala may not have 10 minutes to find the answer. She may have 10 points. The depth of Cincinnati makes this road even more important. Every player in the top 10 entered the event. 75 of the top 77 were included in the original field. A player does not need a Grand Slam trophy to create a brutal first or second round. Eala could meet a qualifier who has already played 2 matches and understands the court speed. She could meet a young power hitter with nothing to lose. She could meet a defender who turns every game into a physical negotiation. Those opponents may never appear in the thumbnail. They may still decide whether the blockbuster happens. A short opening match can protect energy. A difficult opening match can sharpen the mind. But 2 long battles before the famous opponent may take away the exact qualities Eala needs most. Fresh legs allow her to stand close and take the ball early. A clear mind allows her to recognize when the pattern has changed. That is why the best draw is not always the draw with the weakest names. The best draw may be the one that allows Eala to build rhythm without spending the energy she will need later. That is why the draw is not simply a list of opponents. It is a chain of conditions. Eala must win. The potential superstar must win. Both must arrive at the same round. Both must manage recovery and adapt to the schedule. One rain delay can change the rest period. One late finish can change the next morning. One long tiebreak can change the legs. Eala may face one of these 4 players. She may face none of them. She may survive long enough to face 2, but she will never face all 4 at once. One court, one opponent, one problem at a time. That brings us back to the ranking. If we rank these matchups by fame, Swiatek probably comes first. If we rank them by emotional history, Pegula may take the top spot. If we rank them by the speed at which a match can disappear, Osaka becomes terrifying. But if we rank them by uncertainty, the least reliable information, and the hardest plan to build, Gauff separates from the rest. Number 4 is Naomi Osaka. That may sound strange. Osaka owns 4 Grand Slam titles, all on hard courts. When the serve is working and the first strike lands cleanly, she can take control before the rally truly begins. Nothing about facing Osaka on a hard court is safe. But the current evidence gives Eala a clear starting point. They have played once. Eala won 6-4, 6-2. She has already seen the speed. She has already absorbed the power. She has already found a pattern that worked. Osaka can adjust, and a better serving day could reverse everything. Still, the available evidence gives Eala more clarity than uncertainty. That places Osaka 4th. Number 3 is Iga Swiatek. Swiatek is the defending Cincinnati champion. She has more experience controlling events of this size than Eala. Yet Eala leads their series 2-1. 3 matches, 3 surfaces, 2 Eala victories. That matters because Eala does not need to imagine a plan that might work. She has already used one. Stand close on return. Take the ball early. Keep Swiatek from settling into comfortable patterns. Apply pressure before the point becomes organized. But the same history gives Swiatek a complete picture. She has seen the plan. She knows the pressure. She understands that reputation will not defeat Eala before the match begins. A fourth meeting would be dangerous, but not mysterious. Both players know the shape of the fight. That places Swiatek third. Number 2 is Jessica Pegula. 2 meetings, 2 deciding sets, 1 victory each. Miami showed that Pegula could close the door after Eala had moved within 1 set of a final. Washington showed that Eala could reverse the story and finish with complete control. The 6-love deciding set looked final. It was not. Pegula now knows the exact moment when the match escaped her. She knows which patterns stopped working and how quickly Eala gained confidence. She also creates very few emotional openings. She stays clean, reads the direction early, and makes the opponent earn the same point several times. That is especially dangerous after a difficult road through the draw. A third meeting would test whether Eala can maintain patience and clarity through every quiet stretch where Pegula appears to be giving nothing away. That places Pegula second. Number 1 is Coco Gauff. Not because Eala cannot beat her. Not because Gauff owns the greatest career in this group. Because this matchup offers the least reliable map. Dubai showed the nightmare. Gauff won 6-love, 6-2. She won the first 10 games. She turned defense into pressure, and pressure into errors. Indian Wells showed the reversal. Eala won the first set 6-2. She led 2-love in the second. She appeared to be controlling the center and taking the ball early without rushing. Then Gauff retired with a left arm injury. The victory counts. The answer does not feel complete. Would Eala have maintained control through a full second and third set? Would Gauff have adjusted? Would the match have become physical? Would the pattern from Dubai have returned once fatigue entered the rallies? Nobody knows. That uncertainty is the danger. A clear defeat gives Eala something to correct. A clear victory gives her something to trust. 2 opposite matches create a question with no reliable answer. Which version will arrive in Cincinnati? The Gauff who removed Eala from the court in 67 minutes? Or the Eala who controlled the rematch before injury ended it? That is why Gauff is number 1. She attacks patience. She extends rallies. She can force Eala to create one more winner after the point already appears finished. And unlike the other 3 matchups, there is no complete recent result that tells either player what happens when both are healthy, prepared, and required to finish the entire fight. Swiatek is a rivalry with 3 chapters. Pegula is a battle with 2 complete endings. Osaka is a rematch with 1 clear result. Gauff is the question that still has no final answer. This comparison also reveals how much the position of Eala has changed. A year ago, the question was whether she could reach matches like these. Now the question is which elite opponent creates the hardest problem. The conversation has moved beyond potential. Eala is no longer entering these names as a guest in someone else's story. Swiatek must prepare for a player who has beaten her twice. Pegula must prepare for the player who handed her a 6-love deciding set. Osaka must prepare for the player who controlled their first meeting. Gauff must prepare for a question that injury prevented both players from completing. That does not guarantee another victory. It guarantees that nobody can treat Eala as an easy part of the draw. But even that conclusion needs one warning. No opponent is automatically the most dangerous in every situation. Gauff after a long physical match could become a nightmare. Osaka in quick night conditions could decide a set with a few serves. Swiatek after several rounds could become more settled and more confident. Pegula in another 3-set battle could turn consistency into pressure that never stops. The draw Eala needs is not necessarily an easy draw. She needs time. One opening match to understand the speed of the court. One demanding round that sharpens her focus without draining her body. Then the blockbuster. That would give Eala the chance to arrive with rhythm, confidence, and enough energy to solve the next problem. Because Cincinnati will not be decided only by the biggest name printed near her section. It will be decided by the road she travels before reaching that name. As of August 5, no Cincinnati opponent has been confirmed for Eala. She may face one of these 4 stars, She may face none of them. The draw may produce a completely different danger that nobody is discussing yet. That is why the real story has not started. Swiatek would test repetition. Pegula would test clarity. Osaka would test time. Gauff would test the question that still has no reliable answer. When the official draw appears, do not look only at the superstar waiting near Iga Swiatek. Look at the matches before her. Look at the recovery time. Look at the path. Because the next opponent may create the headline. The road to that opponent will decide whether Alex Eala reaches it. So, which possible matchup worries you most? Put the name in the comments. And subscribe if you want the entire Cincinnati path broken down when the draw becomes official.